Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Rebecca Roberts.
And I'm Yochanan El Rom.
In our top story, the International Criminal Court and its member states are facing sanctions after the biased international body issued warrants for the arrest of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant on trumped-up charges of war crimes. The ICC falsely accused the Israeli leaders of starving Palestinians by blocking aid to the Gaza Strip in the aftermath of the Hamas invasion of Israel. Netanyahu strongly denied the claim, saying that the ICC ruling undermines the Israeli democracy's fight against terrorism. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau immediately announced that his country will uphold the decision. He was joined by the leaders of Belgium, Australia, Finland, Portugal, Spain, the Netherlands, and others who confirmed that the Israeli leaders would be arrested on site. Officials with the incoming presidential administration of Donald Trump warned that the corrupt International Court and its member states would face sanctions if it moved forward with the anti-Semitic witch hunt against the Jewish state.
Argentinian President Javier Milei has announced the advancement of a historic bilateral agreement with the Jewish state to promote freedom and democracy and the fight against terrorism. Milei said, while other countries are allied with Iran, we ally with Israel. This alliance defends justice and freedom, and we want it to become a model for other nations. The declaration came just days after the International Criminal Court at The Hague issued arrest warrants for Israeli leaders.
The hardline Islamic Republic of Iran has announced that it will launch advanced centrifuges, pushing the radical Shiite state closer to nuclear breakout. This sophisticated technology will allow Tehran to advance its production of enriched uranium for nuclear weapons. This escalation comes after the International Atomic Energy Agency censured Iran for failing to cooperate in an investigation into the discovery of atomic particles at two undisclosed nuclear sites. This was the second time that Tehran was condemned for failing to cooperate with the IAEA in less than 5 months.
The Norwegian government is considering increasing funding to the corrupt Palestinian Authority, Lebanon, and the United Nations Relief and Works Agency. The plan is to boost the aid package by nearly $15 million. $3.6 million will reportedly go to Lebanon, in addition to the $3.4 million Oslo has already given the Hezbollah-controlled country this year. Norway continued to support the nefarious United Nations Relief and Works Agency after it was proven that UNRWA employees took part in the massacre of 1,200 Israelis and the abduction of 253 others to Gaza.
The Kremlin is trafficking young men from Yemen and forcing them to fight its war in Ukraine. The men are reportedly lured to the former Soviet Union by a Houthi-run company, promising high-paying jobs and Russian citizenship. When they arrive, they are forcefully drafted into the Russian army and sent to the front lines. U.S. Special Envoy for Yemen, Tim Linderking, expressed his concern over Russia's deepening ties with the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels, which is now expanding into weapons transfers. He said the kinds of weapons that are being discussed are very alarming and would enable the Houthis to better target ships in the Red Sea and possibly beyond.
The Israeli cabinet has unanimously approved Dr. Yechiel Leiter to be the next Israeli ambassador to the United States. Leiter will replace outgoing envoy Mike Herzog in Washington after President Trump takes office. Israel's foreign minister, Gideon Sa'ar, praised the appointment, saying he believes Leiter will make a significant contribution to strengthening the relationship between Israel and the United States.
3 Jordanian police officers were wounded when a gunman opened fire near the Israeli embassy in Amman last week. Jordan is host to a large Palestinian population which threatens the ruling Hashemite monarchy. In the aftermath of the October 7th Hamas attack on Israel and the ensuing wars on 7 fronts, Jordan has become a hotbed for pro-Hamas activities. In March, anti-Semitic protesters surrounded the Israeli embassy, where they repeatedly called to go to the borders and kidnap Israeli soldiers. They also called for Hamas to bomb Tel Aviv.
Donald Trump's pick to be the next U.S. ambassador to Israel has boldly called for regime change in Iran. Mike Huckabee, the former governor of Arkansas, told News Nation the fanatic Islamic Republic is funding Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis in their war on the Jewish state. Huckabee noted that during Trump's first term as president, he imposed strong sanctions against the radical Shiite regime. He said Donald Trump was bankrupting the Ayatollahs in Tehran. Huckabee lamented Joe Biden's policy of appeasement, which allowed the rogue Islamic Republic access to billions of dollars that Tehran used to fund terror against Israel, including the invasion of the Jewish state on October 7th.
The Mossad intelligence service is investigating the brutal abduction and murder of an Israeli. Initial reports reveal that Zvi Kogan, an emissary with the Chabad organization, may have been under Iranian surveillance before his disappearance in the United Arab Emirates. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu released a statement confirming that Israeli officials were conducting an intensive investigation in Abu Dhabi in cooperation with Emirati authorities. Shortly after his announcement, UAE officials reported that they had arrested 3 individuals in connection with the gruesome murder.
Senior U.S. defense officials have confirmed that arch-terrorist Ali Musa Dakduk was killed in an Israeli airstrike on a Hezbollah stronghold in Syria. Dakduk received support and training from the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps that enabled him to ambush and massacre 5 American soldiers in Iraq in 2007. The senior Hezbollah commander was the mastermind of the brutal and sophisticated attack. Jerusalem has yet to comment on the alleged Israeli airstrike, but has repeatedly said it will not allow Iranian entrenchment on its borders.
A new survey reveals that anti-Semitism is rapidly increasing among the French youth. The study, entitled "The French View of Anti-Semitism and the Situation of French Jews in 2024, reveals that 12% of young people in France want the Jews to leave their country. The surveyors noted that this response reflects an upheaval in the types of French people who express anti-Jewish opinions. The rise of Jew hatred among the youth in France is a troubling concern. One expert explained that young people are more receptive to anti-Semitic, Islamist, and conspiracy theories that are invading social networks.
U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has announced the nomination of Pam Bondi as Attorney General of the United States. Bondi served as the Attorney General for the state of Florida. She stood firm against anti-Israel protesters that took U.S. college campuses hostage after the October 7th Hamas genocidal attack on Israel. Bondi told Newsmax the FBI should investigate protesters who say they support the Hamas terror group. This is in line with the Republican Party's newly revised platform, which calls to deport foreigners who support Hamas. Trump announced that when he is president, he will not allow American colleges to be taken over by violent radicals. He said, if you come from another country and try to bring jihadism, anti-Americanism, or anti-Semitism to our campuses, we will immediately deport you.
The Ronald Reagan Presidential Library has announced the unveiling of its newest exhibition, The Dead Sea Scrolls. The library, located in Simi, California, worked in cooperation with the Israel Antiquities Authority to display the collection of priceless Israeli artifacts. It includes 8 of the original 2,000-year-old Dead Sea Scrolls, as well as Second Temple-era etchings of the biblical menorah, and a first-century boat discovered on the shores of the Sea of Galilee. The exhibit includes over 200 pieces of ancient Jewish artifacts and will be on display until fall of 2025. Organizers say that the exhibit is more than a display of artifacts. It's a journey through human spirituality, resilience, and the enduring quest for meaning.
Incoming U.S. President Donald Trump has named former Florida Congressman Dr. David Weldon as his nominee for Director of the Center for Disease Control. Dr. Weldon served 7 terms in Washington. He was co-founder and chairperson of the Congressional Israel Allies Caucus in the House of Representatives. Weldon has expressed his concerns for vaccine safety and is an excellent candidate to lead reforms in U.S. health care promised by President Trump. Dr. Weldon currently serves as the chairman of the board of the Israel Allies Foundation. That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. We're here in our beautiful studio in Jerusalem. My guest today is Pastor Stephen Khoury. He is the VP of Holy Land Mission. Stephen Khoury, thanks for being on the show.
Shalom. Thank you, Josh.
Tell us a little about what is Holy Land Mission.
Holy Land Missions is a bridge to the Christians in the USA and around the world to help the Christians within the Judea-Samaria region to understand our biblical roots and to understand that Israel is more than just a political punchline. There is our biblical roots. Our roots come from Judeo-Christian foundation, and that's we connect the roots of Christians in America to the biblical roots of Israel.
Well, last month, Donald Trump won the election. A lot of Christians voted for him. What do you think about that?
I think it's the greatest thing for America to bring America back to its roots, to preserve the common sense, to preserve the American values. It's the best thing for the Middle East, the best thing for Israel. I am very optimistic, and I'm glad, I'm happy, I'm joyful.
We saw that Arab Christians in Israel were coming closer to Israel slowly. And then October 7th happened, and you don't hear much from them. What are they thinking about this now?
I think you have two split camps, Josh. You have the first camp where the ones on the Judea-Samaria side, they look at what happened October 7th as a short-lived victory. Then when the wake-up call happened, whenever October 7th, October 10th, 11th, 12th, Israel started to respond to Gaza, and now we see destruction in Gaza. Now they realize, well, not now, maybe early on, they realize that's not the answer. War, killing is not the answer. Fighting against Israel, you will lose, lose, lose. The only option forward is to reach out a hand and to start to call on peace, to start to call on either one state or start to call on what is the future for our children for tomorrow. And I think the other camp right now is, and that's been maybe early on, who were opposing, especially what happened, the atrocities that happened against the innocent men, women, and children on the Israeli side, the Jewish side. We also know Arabs were also killed in October 7th, horrific attack. And it's you talk to many Muslims, they tell you what happened is against their own belief system. Now, of course, there's ways to debate that, but that's the common sense. The fanatic extremists, they will never accept a Jewish neighbors. The fanatic extremists will never accept a Christian neighbors. The only way forward is to start to push people to speak out, to start to call good, good, and evil, evil. It was heartbreaking, but I think I'm optimistic. I'm very optimistic. Many Arabs are speaking out more than ever before.
Jews and Christians are coming together around the world in an unprecedented burst of activity. We're seeing Jews and Christians working everywhere from America to the Philippines to Brazil. What do you think the future of Israel and the Israeli Christian community here?
The future of Israel and the Israeli Christian community, more needs to be done. We need more people like you with the Christian Ally Caucus who are bringing awareness. I think education is important, Josh, to the Jewish community, to the Israeli community. It's happening, but we need to do more of it. Not every Christian wants to convert a Jew. We can be active society as a Christian Arab, as a Christian Israeli. We need to be able to see Israel as our homeland, Holy Land as our homeland, the future for our children. I am optimistic from one end, and the second end, I think more education needs to happen. We need more activities. We need support to get behind the Christian Allies Caucus, get more behind Jews like you who are religious. You are religious in your own nature. You are about preserving Israel, but you understand with covenant land comes covenant responsibility, and we need to be a part of that. We need to speak a new chapter, speak for a better tomorrow based on righteousness, on truth, on transparency, and not on fakeness. We don't want fakeness anymore. We want real things. And I think people are tired. It's time for a new chapter.
Israelis are celebrating the election of Donald Trump. They say 82% of Israelis, that's including Arab Israelis, are very excited about what's to come. They think it's a new era of the U.S.-American relationship. How do Christian Israelis see the election of Donald Trump?
You know, it's a two-part question. I say, I'm shocked how many Arabs are supporting Donald Trump. Even though with his strong pro-Israel stance, you get on YouTube, on social media, many Arabs in the U.S. and even Israel, they support Trump because they understand the only way forward is a businessman with a mentality of building a better tomorrow. For Christians and Arabs living within Israeli societies, I think many start to see their home, Israel as their home, no longer as a political divide, no longer as a political punchline, but they see Israel as their home. Both are here. The Jews are here. The Arabs are here. The only way forward is to submit to the higher power, to submit to the rules of the land, and to build a better tomorrow, to build a better future. I think that is the only option forward.
You brought up a really good point. You know, a lot of Muslim Arabs in America actually voted for Donald Trump. Not the majority, but way more than we've seen in the past. You know, he's known as the most pro-Israel president in the history of America. Why do you think they voted for him?
I think the Christian values, the conservative Christian values, which Trump is surrounding himself by many evangelical pastors and leaders. He himself is a Christian proclaimed American. He's surrounded himself with Bible value people. And a lot of people don't know this, that those who are religious in the Islamic world, they see themselves as conservative, anti-abortion, anti-transparency to some aspect, respecting the other in the land. That's how they perceive it. So I'm talking about the non-fanatical extremists, I mean. So they see Trump, the values of abortion and family values and preserving the history of values and so forth. They see that as the closest thing to them, and that can overpower the whole Israel thing for the sake of a better tomorrow. Plus, they ran away from capitalism, socialism, from communism and socialism. They ran away from that, Josh. And they look at America as a future of building a better tomorrow, financially, stability, and so forth. And why would they run to America to go back to where they're at in Syria and Iraq and whatever, whether it be a third world country or fanatical Middle Eastern country? That's the positive thing.
Stephen, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
Keep praying for the peace of Israel. Don't stop. You have to call good, good, evil, evil, and pray for the peace of Jerusalem. There is hope. We are hopeful.
Thank you, Stephen, for being on the show. And thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
And now the truth from Zion.
In 2023, a momentous event captured the world's attention. Israel received a visit from an Iranian leader of great importance. Reza Pahlavi, the son of the late Shah, journeyed to Jerusalem and made a lasting impact. It was the first visit by a member of the Pahlavi royal family to Israel in decades. Israel has not had diplomatic relations with Iran since the Islamic Revolution of 1979.
This historic event held immense significance in fostering bridges and collaboration between our two nations.
Pahlavi is Iranian by birth. He moved to Cairo, Egypt with his family when his father was sent into exile. He was 18 years old at the time. Today, the Crown Prince lives in Virginia in the United States. Pahlavi stepped off the plane at Ben Gurion Airport on April 17, 2023, along with his wife, Yakima. The visit was meant to emphasize unity between Israel and the Iranian people, highlighting a glimmer of the past, a time when Israel and Iran had strong relations.
The Crown Prince visited Israel as a member of the Cyrus delegation with a mission to promote democracy, human rights, and the restoration of the historical relations between Iran and Israel.
That diplomacy was destroyed in 1979 when the Ayatollah Khomeini forcefully took over Iran and turned it into an Islamic tyranny. Pahlavi and his wife were welcomed by Israel's intelligence minister, Gila Gamliel.
In this historic visit, we took the initial step towards rebuilding the cultural, economic, political, and personal bonds between our nations.
Pahlavi spoke about his dedication to working toward a peaceful future for the region and doing it with friendship.
I am more than thrilled to have had this opportunity to travel to Israel for the first time. And I know that Iranians and Israelis see how important it will be for our future to be our strategic partners.
Pahlavi tweeted, "Thank you, President Isaac Herzog, for your warm welcome of words and friendship toward the Iranian people." Pahlavi visited Yad Vashem on Israel's Holocaust Remembrance Day to sympathize with the Jewish people. It was in bold contrast to the rulers of Iran, who routinely deny the Holocaust as one of their ways to encourage anti-Semitism.
And today, when we have a regime that denies that the Holocaust ever occurred, it was my duty to be here representing my fellow compatriots.
Pahlavi spoke about the importance of keeping the memory of Holocaust victims alive. After the ceremony, the Crown Prince met with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his wife Sarah. Minister Gamliel praised Pahlavi's visit as a significant show of support from a high-ranking Iranian figure.
אני חושבת שהביקור הזה הוא מאוד מאוד חשוב. הוא בעיניי הצעד הראשון למהפכה האמיתית שתהיה. אני מרגישה את זה שזו הדרך הנכונה להתחיל ולהגיע חזרה לקירוב הלבבות בין העמים, שהוביל בסופו של דבר לשינוי המהותי בהנהגה.
He also spent time meeting with Israeli officials and visiting historic sites like the Western Wall and the Baha'i Gardens in Haifa. Reza Pahlavi's visit to Jerusalem has stirred great excitement. Many are hopeful about potentially shifting political dynamics in the region. There's even talk about a parallel peace agreement to the Abraham Accords called the Cyrus Accords. During his visit, Reza Pahlavi spent time at historical and religious sites around Jerusalem, enjoying the magic of the Holy City. Pahlavi said Iranians are absolutely ready for diplomatic ties with Israel, despite the current tensions between the two countries. He emphasized that the Iranian people do not view Israel as an enemy, and that they share a common history and culture. He also criticized the Iranian regime for its recent policies and called for democratic reforms in his homeland.
My goal to tell the whole world that what you hear from the Iranian regime is not what the Iranian people actually believe.
Pahlavi said the Iranian people aspire to a government that will respect its heritage with the preservation of human rights and respect for religious and cultural diversity, through the restoration of peace and friendship with Israel and Iran's other neighbors.
My compatriots are proud of their history, a history that dates back 2,500 years when Cyrus the Great helped free Jewish slaves and helped rebuild their temples.
A democratic Iran will seek to renew its ties with Israel and our Arab neighbors. In my opinion, that day is closer than ever. Up next, the ICEJ report from the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem.
Today we are in Moshav Teramim, which is close to Sderot. I'm here with a group of 23 people from all around the world that have decided to come, especially during this time, to stand with Israel and show it in like a practical way. So during the past about 10 days, we have renovated bomb shelters, we have cooked meals for the families of the hostages, we've also visited different places, we've done many different things, and today we're harvesting lemons.
Since 1980, the International Christian Embassy Jerusalem has been a voice of Christian support for Israel and connected the global church to the land of the Bible. Headquartered in Jerusalem, the ICEJ has taken action to stand with Israel by caring for Holocaust survivors, helping Jewish families return home to Israel, providing bomb shelters, fighting anti-Semitism around the world, and by inviting Christians to discover Israel for themselves.
When October 7th happened, we took it personally. You know, we were heartbroken, and we were praying a lot about it, and I wanted to do something more than just pray. I wanted to put my prayers into action.
In this hard time, if we don't come to Israel or stand up for Israel, when should we do it? I have friends living down at the border, so it affected me very much. Not only as a Christian, but as a human being. I know one of them is hostage Gaza.
This is a job for me. I like to work with my hands and I like to work with people, so I give myself to a volunteer. I see Jewish people who still go on. They have a lot of pain in their heart, but they still go on, and they're so happy that we are here to help them.
Look at history. If we remain silenced, we'll be next. You know, and the problem is we already see this lesson from history. When the Christian church was silent, the Holocaust happened. Our stance needs to be bolder, our light needs to shine brighter, and we need to advocate for truth.
We have to come here, support the people and make them understand that they are not alone. And when we come back to our home countries, we have more information, more strength to tell our co-workers, our friends, family members, neighbors about what we have seen here.
After Hamas brutally attacked Israel on October the 7th, 2023, the ICEJ has been actively standing with Israel and her people through advocacy and urgently needed aid projects. Now is the time for Christians to turn their love for Israel and the Jewish people into real action as never before. Your donation will help deliver bomb shelters to at-risk areas, provide necessary supplies for first responders, care for evacuees with food, shelter, clothing, and trauma care, and will eventually help rebuild these devastated communities. Visit ICEJUSA.tv to donate online or call 1-800-910-6355 and give your generous gift today.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Rebecca Roberts.
And I'm Yochanan El Rom, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.